Alright, so I'm gonna start this video over again. It's June 2nd. I believe we're on the 25th or 26th day, and I'm starting this video over again because I'm getting off task because I'm pissed from what I'm seeing around the country. And my purpose is to talk about trauma, is to honor those that have lost their battles to PTSD. And just for the record, I stand with those that are protesting. Just like the other officers around the country, the ones that are peacefully protesting, the men and women, the children, all races that are protesting what happened in Minneapolis. And it is the looters and the rioters and the ones that are destroying things that I have an issue with. And that's where I'm gonna stop with that part of this. So we are on, I think it's day 25, 26. I'm rucking 78 pounds. We're at 65 suicides from what I saw this morning on Blue Help. I'm just trying to get ahead of the weight because the temps up here are shooting up, and summer is going to be rough. But it mimics the weight that you carry, not because of our badge, because of the trauma that we endure as first responders, not just as law enforcement, but as fire, as EMS, as communications. The trauma that we endure day in and day out, that's what weighs you down. And some of these days with this 78 pounds, it's light as a feather. Other days, it sucks. Today sucked, but it was a good suck. It was good energy. Got after it. Lots of hills and valleys and all that jazz around here, but it was good. Felt good to get out and get working. Yesterday just sucked as 100%. Not a good day. Nothing to do with the weight. It's not a good day. Today I got up, it was exhausted for whatever reason, and I did not want to throw this thing on, but it is so easy when the day sucks. It is beyond easy to make an excuse and not go after it and not get up and get your ass out of bed or get your ass up off the couch and get out there and hustle. I'm fortunate. I got some folks around me. My chief, he kicks my ass every day. The men and women that I work with every day, just an amazing group of people. The citizens that I serve, I could not ask for a better community to work for. And the men and women that are sending me messages every day, doing buddy checks. Tonight I got to sit in on a vicarious trauma webinar, which was, these guys that do this, it's Trauma Behind the Badge, I believe is the name of the group, and you guys got to forgive me because I already got crappy memory to start with from being punched in the head over the years, but I'm doing wrestling and fighting and everything else, and I got the x-rays to prove it, but these guys are just awesome. A lot of cop humor, just they're on there busting each other's chops, but they're all, just absolutely love what they do, love the work that they do. And I'm also doing this online stuff with Echelon Front, Jocko Willink, Leif Babin, the rest of those guys. There is no better motivation. It is, I think it's $12.99 or $24.99, something like that a month. You get to hook up with these guys live a couple times a week, chat with them. You get to listen to all the webinars, podcasts that they put out. They do live webinars, but just getting to be in the same room with Jocko Willink and Leif Babin and the SEAL teams, JP Donnell, and again, I'm forgetting names and I apologize to you guys, but I mean, just an outstanding group of guys. You can't ask for a better kick in the ass and motivation that you need it. They bring some great leadership lessons to the table, and well worth price of admission just to be able to be a part of that. So find what motivates you, whether it's that kind of stuff, whether it is, reading, listening to podcasts. There's so many great podcasts out there. Tim Ferriss is just absolutely awesome. Just a lot of guys that motivate you, and find out whatever your field is. Not everybody is into, the military podcast, the fighting podcast. Joe Rogan, another one, just absolutely awesome. Eddie Bravo, guys that I have just immense amount of respect for, and just the hearing about their lessons they've learned on their journeys. They're just absolute priceless assets to the trade, the game of jiu-jitsu, rolling. These guys, find the guys that are at the top of the level, the ones that are way up here. Those guys are going to, and girls, women, men, whatever, I'm not trying to offend anybody, whatever it is, warriors in my book, whoever it is that motivates you, even if they seem unattainable, reach out to them, because they're not. The people that are top level in their game, in their sport, in their business, they go out of their way to help and to teach you and to provide you lessons. And I guarantee you 99.9% of them, if you reach out, especially now with everything that's going on with this COVID, so many people have moved to doing the live video webinars and things like that, and have just given you access to where you may not have had access to them before. So, put in the time, get after it, and, do some research on your part. Find those people, and really, it's a few bucks, but it is well worth the opportunities just to be able to have that mentoring going on. And it gives you, I got a little furry friend coming over here. It gives you a great opportunity. Okay. Little stray coming over. Come here, buddy. There you go. Hi, kitty. Hi, kitty. Hey. So, whatever it is that you do, and these little folks here, doing rescues, working with these animals, service animals, bring those into your agencies and take advantage of the take advantage of just the energy that they bring and the calm that they bring by taking some time out and just hanging out with them and petting them. Ah, man, hurting tonight, and I still got to do my push-ups. You know, like I said in the beginning of this, there's going to be times where you are not going to want to do anything. You're not going to want to, you're just going to want to sit and wallow. You're going to want to sit and pity. You're going to sit and want to go down that rabbit hole. Don't do it. Just get up. It only takes a few minutes. Once you get up and start moving, that energy level starts going up. Get outside, get some sun, get some air. I tell you, for me, when I was struggling at my worst, getting out here at night and just driving. And drive down to the mountains. You got no traffic out there. It's beautiful out. Sky is clear. You see all the stars and everything else. You hear all the sounds. It's very relaxing. That's one of my things that I used to do all the time. That's why one of the reasons why I go out and do these walks at night. It's just the most peaceful time of the day. You don't have all the running around and the hecticness going on. You see a few people here and there. My little stray buddy, I don't even know what his name is. He runs around here half the time. So find something. This is a absolute stressful time, not only for us as first responders, but our families, for our kids especially. They have no idea what is going on in the world. If they're seeing the stuff on TV, talk to them. Be open and be honest. You don't need to go into the graphic details, but be honest with them. You would be surprised at how much your kids comprehend, and the questions that they're going to ask you are 9 times out of 10 they are much better than the adults are going to ask you, because the adults have a filter and the kids do not, and they're going to ask you what's ever on your mind, and it is going to challenge you. I can tell you just from conversations with my son. If you haven't read the book that I did, Why Won't You Play With Me, it's about the conversations I had with my son when I was going through PTSD and having a really, really, really rough time. And I tell you, that little guy, best peer support I could have ever had. He would ask me some deep questions. He could tell when I was struggling. He'd come put an arm around me, wouldn't say anything. He'd just sit there and hug me and tell me that he loved me and how important I was. And that's a lot of the times when you're doing peer support, that's all you're doing. You're just being present. You don't need to, let the guys with the fancy letters after their names, those are some talented men and women. Let them be the ones to do all the therapies and all the EMDRs and all that stuff. You don't need to be trained in peer support. Just be present. That does so much good. Because a lot of the times when you are struggling, it's because you don't feel like anybody cares. And even when people are telling you they care, you don't see it. You don't see the value in yourself. And having somebody say those words and tell you that you're important and that you do value, that they value you, that is just, it's an awesome thing to be able to do. Maybe you look at the service animals. They just come and sit there and you pet them and you feel great. I was at the World Conference speaking last year, and they had a giant St. Bernard there, and I think his name was Clyde. I could be wrong, I probably am, but just remember he was a 200-pound St. Bernard, and he would come over to you, and he had a paw the size of my head, which doesn't get much bigger than that, but he would come over to you and slap his paw on your leg and would not move until you petted him. And you could not, Clarence was his name. You could not, you couldn't smile. You could not help but smile. when he's sitting there, and he's usually drooling all over your shoes, but you just couldn't help but smile. Toronto brought their dogs down, and I think they had 12 of them, and they take them to roll calls. And you know, one of the folks there was talking about how their SWAT team guys, you bring these animals in, emotional therapy animals, and you got these big, tough, burly guys rolling around on the ground with the dogs and playing and laughing and joking, and you know, and they're just there. And you know, I think a lot of the times we get so worried about acting and about taking that step and asking that question because we're so afraid that we're going to say or do something wrong and that we're not going to do the right thing. And you don't need to say anything. You just need to be present. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen, and there's going to be people that get mad at me whenever I say that. They do. It's usually the people with the little letters after their name. But just be there. This isn't real hard. And the other thing you have to do is take care of yourself, because you can't be a helper. You can't help anybody if you can't help yourself first. If you're following my amazing friend Meg, that is also doing this, she talks a lot about self-care. And I tell you, if you ever get the chance to hear Meg and her husband Eric speak, one of the best presentations on, you know, you have two first responders, both have PTSD. Eric is a vet, special forces vet, and just so open, honest, raw talks that you will ever hear, and they will hit you right to the core. They are just amazing people. So you know, if you catch her videos on the site, follow her. She does absolutely amazing work for Fairfax. Just great stuff that she does. You know, there's so many amazing people in our field, and with all the negative stuff that's out there right now, just remember why you got into this, why you put on the uniform, why you put on the badge, whether you're military, whether you're first responders, healthcare workers. My friend Christy up in Maryland, she is one of the most absolutely amazing people that I've met as well. Growing up, she was a volunteer firefighter. She was and I know I'm going to get this wrong, she was a medic on one of the trauma helicopters. She's an ER nurse, and just one of the most absolutely amazing individuals that is beyond caring for everybody. You know, every time there is a cause, she is donating to it. She's taking food. She works non-stop. Just an absolutely amazing person. And I have been so blessed to be surrounded by so many great people. Sean Riley with Safe Call Now, Chris Thorpe, obviously, Enduring Warrior. I sit back some days and I wonder how I got so lucky to be able to meet so many people. And when I look back on my journey, I realize that it all came out of the worst event in my life. And it all came out of almost ending my life because of that event. before God makes a man great, and when I say man or woman, when he makes a human being great, or before he makes a human being great, he will shatter them into a million pieces. He will walk them through the darkest valleys, and he will provide them with a challenge that they don't see how they can get through it. And they fight, and they fight, and they fight. And by grace, whatever it is, whatever your outlook on it may be, I know for me, if God wasn't there that day when I was sitting on that couch to show me in that split second, to give me the lesson that he gave me in that split second that he did, I wouldn't be standing here right now. And I would not have been able to cross paths with all the amazing people that I have. I would not be able to have written all the books, to be able to go and speak to all the people, to be able to hold the people that I've held when they're in crisis, to be able to sit next to men and women that have asked me to walk with them on their journey. To be able to bring a smile to somebody's face. I would not have been able to do that if I had not first been shattered. And then he gathered all my pieces and he picked me up and he put me back together again. And for whatever reason, I was just talking to somebody, usually I talk to somebody about this every day, but I have no idea why I've been given the opportunity to do the things I've done. I'm not the best speaker. I'm by far not the best writer, not the most articulate, but when it comes time, when the lights go down and them stage lights come on, the words are there. When I put the pen in my hand or my fingers on the keyboard, the words are there. When I'm sitting across from somebody that is shattered, the words are there. And they're not mine. No sooner am I talking about this but someone across the street has a church hymn playing in the background all of a sudden. You know, it's every time I have struggled and every time I have had to battle, I'm always given reminders. All the time. My dad passed a few months ago. I was blessed to have him call me 3 days before and tell me for the first time that he was proud of me. And by having that call, and by hearing that for the first time in 48 years, that gave me a level of peace that I would have never had he told me, he said, "I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. Don't let it run you into the ground." You work your ass off, but don't let it run you into the ground. For so many years, I did that. For so many years, I ran myself into the ground with my job, especially in the peer support side. I always wanted to help everybody. And I never knew when to stop. I listened to the Vicarious Trauma webinar tonight, and I was taking on so much other stress and trauma on top of my own that I was too stubborn to get help with, and just piling it on and piling it on and piling it on. And for a long time I didn't talk to my dad. We had a very, very up and down relationship my entire life. And I remember when I was little, my dad used to work so hard. He started his own company, and he worked so hard. Didn't see him a lot. The day my dad passed, my uncle called and sitting there trying to be strong for my mom and not get upset. And he tells me, he said, "Your dad was the smartest person I knew. And he was the hardest working person I ever met." And I remember my dad had his company, and my dad worked. And then my dad had his struggles. My dad had addictions, and he battled them. And that took a huge toll on me growing up, because I had to step into the role as a man of the house, and I started working at 12, and I worked every weekend, 12 hours a day, Saturday, 12 hours Sunday at a boat dock. And then when I turned 14, I went to work at this little mom and pop restaurant. And when I was not at school, I was at work. Weekends, nights, I always worked. And a lot of that had to do with because I didn't want to be home. And I really had a lot of anger towards my dad because of that. And I started playing sports because of that. And I played football because of that, because it gave me a way to get my aggression out. And I started fighting and wrestling because of that, because it gave me a way to get my aggression out. And I always saw my dad standing across from me. All the time. Didn't matter if I was on a mat, in a ring, in a cage, it didn't matter. I always saw him. And my dad was a man of few words. And over the last year, we went down to West Palm Beach when my grandmother passed away last January 2019. It's the first trip we ever took together. And I think that started the building of that bridge back up. And I think that started another level of a maturing process for me. And it started giving me a wider view of the world and of people and just life in general. And that trip was hard, watching my dad, because he was struggling, but he wouldn't tell me. And we'd go out every night, we'd have dinner, we'd laugh, we'd talk. And I couldn't tell you when we did that before. Went on a family vacation that summer. And laughed and talked and stayed up late and my mom called me that day, first Sunday in April. It was April Fool's Day. Actually, my mom didn't call me, my sister called me and said, Dad's been rushed to the hospital. And I already knew. The whole way over there, I just kept asking God. I kept saying, he's too stubborn to ask for forgiveness. He's too stubborn to ask for forgiveness, so I'm asking for it. Done a lot of bad stuff, but he's a good person. And I remember walking in the room and he was laying there, and I just remember him being at peace. Just had this look of peace, finally. And when I saw that, I knew God had listened. And there's been times after that where I've had rough times and struggled with it because I had to put on the game face and be strong for everybody and get everything done that needed to be done for my mom. And but that phone call, that gave me the greatest level of peace I could ever ask. I can look back now, and I knew that he knew that that was coming. And he wanted to put the final pieces of the bridge there. You know, I don't think a lot of people didn't even know that my dad passed. Just because it's not who I am to walk around and do that and tell people about stuff. A lot of the times there's a few people, but not many. And I had to put my game face on, and I had to do my job, and I had to do right by my mom and my sister, and then I had to come home and explain to my kids. And I used to always say that my dad taught me how not to be a good parent. For many, many years I said that. My mom taught me so much. But the last thing that my uncle told me is that your dad struggled so much with everything he did out of his fear of failing, out of his fear of not being a good parent to you guys, out of fear of not providing. And it was in that moment that I saw myself and my dad. And it was over the next 2 months, talking to his coworkers, talking to family, going through his stuff, seeing the pictures that he had on his phone and on his computer, the pictures he had taken when we were on vacation last year of the kids all standing around laughing and giggling. over his last 2 months, I saw so much of myself in him. He just didn't know how to communicate to us. He didn't know how to say what he wanted to say, I don't think. But he found it a few days before. He found it with the kids. All the grandkids, he always knew how to make them laugh and joke, and he was getting a second chance. He was getting a second chance, and when he did, he hit it out of the park. All his grandkids loved him to death. Absolutely loved him. For so long, he taught me how not to be a good dad. In the last few years, he taught me everything to do right. And he finally, last May, he got to come up to the World Conference and see me do a presentation. I got to introduce him to all the people that have mentored me, and Kathy and Irene, who did EMDR on me and saved my butt, and have mentored me ever since then. Hopefully one day, everybody will get to meet Paige Valdesari, who was just a huge, huge influence to me, and a great friend, and another savior to me. I wouldn't have been able to experience that. And those last lessons for the last year and a half, those were some of the best lessons I've had along my journey. Even after he passed away, the stuff that I found, even going through his library, one of the other things that I speak on in practice and leadership is servant leadership. Huge advocate for it. And I was going through his books in the office. Hidden away, I found a servant leadership book with his notes. You never know the journey somebody's on until you get down in the pit with them, until you take the time to listen. And for years and years and years, I would not. But once again, as my pieces are still being put back together, I think those lessons over the last year and a half, I think those were the last pieces, the last drops of glue going in to put that last piece in there. I don't know if I'll ever get made great, as that saying goes, but I know I'm blessed. I know I'm fortunate. And I know I'm beyond lucky to have crossed paths with all the people that I have, and for having the opportunity with my dad that I did. I hope that, and I said this from the beginning, I got asked, why do I do this? This is as much for me as it is for anybody else that I reach. This was not the plan of what this talk was supposed to be tonight, but once again, I have babbled on for 50 minutes. This was not what I was going to talk about, but it's where I was guided to. And this is as much for me as it is for anybody that it reaches. And I hope that it reaches somebody. I hope that it reaches a lot of people. But at least one. I always ask before I speak. Bow my head and close my eyes and say, please give me the words to touch just one person out there. Just one. Whether it's helping them with the struggle, or whether it's getting them to see the value of their journey, the value of taking the time to listen and to engage people that maybe they wouldn't have before. Because when you do, it'll change your life. And even more than that, it will change the life of the other person. There's a lot of people that ask why you do things. You can't change the world. One person can't change the world all by themselves. You know, I beg to differ. You can change the world for one person. And when you change the world for one person, that one person will change the world for another, and another, and another. That's why we do what we do as helpers and peer support in our fields. We will change the world, one person, one world at a time. If you're on the line tonight, be safe. Take care of yourself. Get home to your families. Hug your loved ones. Especially hug your kids. And if they're grown, they're out of the house, call them. Tell them how much they mean to you and how much they've touched your life. Because tomorrow is not promised. And that one conversation can change their world.